Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're exploring how everyday food choices can influence tinnitus, those persistent ringing or buzzing sensations that affect millions worldwide. We'll unpack recent research linking specific foods to reduced risk and milder symptoms.
I'm Alara Skye, and throughout this episode we'll break down two large studies that highlight the protective effects of fruit, fiber, dairy, caffeine, butter, and legumes, while also warning about common additives, MSG and aspartame, that can aggravate tinnitus by overstimulating nerve pathways.
Let's start with the big picture. A meta-analysis in BMJ Open pooled data from more than 301,000 adults across 8 observational studies. Investigators evaluated 15 diet factors to see which ones change the odds of developing tinnitus. What did they find?
4 foods clearly stood out. Higher intake of fruit, fiber, dairy, and caffeine correlated with lower tinnitus risk. Fruit was the powerhouse, slashing odds by 35%. Fiber lowered risk by 9%, dairy by 17%, and moderate caffeine by about 10%.
That fruit statistic caught my attention. 35% is substantial. Why do fruits deliver such a strong protective punch for our ears and auditory nerves?
3 mechanisms emerged. First, fruits supply abundant antioxidants, vitamin C, polyphenols, carotenoids, that neutralize oxidative stress inside the cochlea. Second, fruit improves endothelial function, boosting microcirculation so the inner ear receives steady oxygen and nutrient flow. Third, flavonoids like quercetin dampen chronic inflammation along auditory pathways.
The same review reported that vegetables did not show the same consistent benefit. That's surprising, given how often we praise veggies. Does this mean vegetables are unhelpful for tinnitus?
Not necessarily. Vegetable studies varied in preparation methods and serving definitions, muddying the data. Fruit demonstrated clearer, more uniform benefits, but vegetables still contribute general health advantages. For tinnitus prevention, however, fruit appears to deliver the most direct, measurable protection.
Let's shift to dairy. Many listeners may have heard advice to limit cheese or butter when managing ear issues. Yet the analysis found dairy intake decreased tinnitus risk. How does that work?
Dairy, especially minimally processed milk, yogurt, and cheese, supports vascular tone. Calcium, potassium, and bioactive peptides enhance blood vessel flexibility, keeping cochlear circulation stable. This vascular support mirrors the mechanism we see with fruit, though the magnitude differs.
Fiber also made the list. Beyond digestive health, how does fiber help the auditory system?
Fiber improves insulin sensitivity. Stable blood sugar prevents sudden fluid shifts in the inner ear that can disrupt pressure and nerve signaling. Insoluble fiber additionally fosters a healthier gut microbiome, lowering systemic inflammation and indirectly protecting auditory neurons.
The caffeine result challenges common wisdom. People often worry coffee worsens ringing. What did the review reveal about moderate caffeine consumption?
Moderate caffeine, roughly 1 strong coffee or 2 cups of tea daily, actually lowered tinnitus odds. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, reducing inflammatory signaling, and briefly widens cerebral blood vessels, improving auditory processing. Exceeding moderate levels may still trigger anxiety or sleep loss, so balance remains key.
A separate nutrient study focused on symptom severity in more than 11,000 adults already experiencing tinnitus. Which foods calmed their symptoms?
2 stood out: butter and legumes. Participants who regularly used real butter reported milder, less intrusive tinnitus. Likewise, those eating beans, lentils, or chickpeas several times a week experienced calmer symptoms and improved daily function.
Butter's benefit seems counterintuitive amid warnings about saturated fat. What nutrients or compounds in butter might explain its positive impact?
Butter provides fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K2, which support nerve insulation and calcium metabolism. It also contains short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation and encourage healthy cell membranes, factors critical to steady nerve firing in the auditory pathway.
Legumes are rich in magnesium, B vitamins, and plant protein. How do these nutrients translate into gentler tinnitus episodes?
Magnesium calms excitatory neurotransmission, B vitamins support myelin formation, and soluble fiber moderates glucose spikes. Together, they stabilize auditory nerve activity, lower oxidative stress, and balance blood pressure, 3 contributors to reduced tinnitus intensity.
Let's talk about foods that do the opposite. MSG and aspartame often hide in processed products. How do they intensify tinnitus?
Both chemicals act as excitotoxins. MSG overstimulates glutamate receptors found throughout the auditory system, raising neural background noise. Aspartame breaks down into aspartate and methanol. Aspartate overexcites neurons, while methanol metabolites add oxidative stress. Repeated exposure heightens auditory sensitivity and turns occasional ringing into continuous disturbance.
People might not realize where these additives lurk. Where should listeners look first if they want to cut excitotoxins today?
Start with ingredient lists on flavored chips, instant noodles, seasoning packets, and diet beverages. MSG appears directly or under names like hydrolyzed protein. Aspartame shows up in sugar-free gums, flavored waters, and many low-calorie snacks. Replacing these with whole food alternatives eliminates a major nerve irritant.
Let's craft a concise action plan. What practical dietary shifts should listeners prioritize to prevent or ease tinnitus based on the latest data?
First, eliminate MSG and aspartame entirely. Second, aim for at least 2 servings of antioxidant-rich fruit daily: berries, citrus, papaya, or watermelon. Third, swap seed oils and margarine for real butter in moderate amounts. Fourth, include legumes 3 to 4 times a week, preparing them properly to reduce lectins. Fifth, enjoy caffeine judiciously, enough to gain circulatory benefits without disrupting sleep.
Some listeners might worry about gas from legumes or lactose issues with dairy. Are there preparation tips to minimize discomfort while keeping the benefits?
Absolutely. Soak and pressure cook beans to break down hard-to-digest sugars and lectins. For dairy, choose fermented options like kefir or yogurt, which offer probiotics and lower lactose. These simple tweaks preserve auditory gains without gastrointestinal trade-offs.
Beyond diet, protecting hearing from loud environments still matters. How do noise management and nutrition complement each other?
Think of them as parallel safeguards. Diet addresses internal physiology, blood flow, inflammation, nerve stability, while noise hygiene prevents new damage. Combining earplugs in loud settings with a nutrient-dense diet provides the strongest defense against tinnitus escalation.
Magnesium deficiency often surfaces in discussions on auditory health. Would you recommend supplementation, or can diet alone cover typical needs?
Many adults fall short through food alone. While leafy greens, nuts, and legumes supply magnesium, targeted supplementation, under professional guidance, can quickly correct deficits and further calm hyperactive auditory neurons. Blood tests help confirm individual requirements.
Suppose someone already experiences moderate tinnitus. How long after adopting these dietary changes might they notice improvements?
Individual timelines vary, but many report subtle relief, less volume or shorter episodes, within 2 to 4 weeks once excitotoxins are removed and antioxidant intake rises. Consistency over 3 to 6 months often yields clearer, more sustained benefits.
To keep listeners motivated, could you recap the standout numbers from the research? Those percentages help quantify progress.
Certainly. Eating more fruit lowered tinnitus odds by 35%. Dairy reduced risk by 17%, fiber by 9%, and moderate caffeine by 10%. Among sufferers, regular butter and legume consumption correlated with noticeably milder symptoms compared with those who avoided them.
Let's address caffeine dosage. What daily upper limit maintains benefits without causing jitteriness or sleep disruption?
Most studies define moderate as up to 400 milligrams, roughly 1 12-ounce brewed coffee, or 2 cups of strong green tea. Exceeding that may spike cortisol or interfere with rest, potentially counteracting gains. Observing personal tolerance remains essential.
For fruit servings, does variety matter, or can listeners focus on favorites?
Variety enhances the antioxidant spectrum. Rotate berries for anthocyanins, citrus for vitamin C, and tropical fruits for carotenoids. The broader the range, the more comprehensive the cellular protection across auditory tissues.
We haven't yet touched on hydration. Does water intake intersect with tinnitus management?
Adequate hydration maintains optimal fluid pressure in the inner ear. Pairing hydrating fruits with pure water throughout the day supports electrolyte balance and smooth nerve conduction, another subtle yet meaningful layer of defense.
Before we close, what's your final takeaway for listeners eager to translate research into daily practice?
View tinnitus through the lens of whole-body regulation. Choose foods that stabilize blood sugar, reduce oxidative stress, and keep circulation robust. Fruit, fiber-rich plants, well-sourced dairy, legumes, moderate caffeine, and natural fats, like butter. Remove excitotoxins. Consistency, not perfection, rewires auditory resilience over time.
And there we have it, clear, actionable guidance grounded in the latest evidence. Thank you, Alara, for dissecting complex findings into practical steps.
Always a pleasure, Ethan.
That wraps up this episode of Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be back soon with more insights to help you take charge of your health at the cellular level. Stay well.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.